We'll do the Maimer in Maimorim Ulukotim. This is the 22nd Maimer in Chelik Beis. And this is Shabbos Parshas Miketz, the Maimer was said, and that was Shabbos Chanukah, and that was in the year h'tofshin memches, Shnas Tismach. And the Maimer begins, Vata Barachmicha Harabim Amדת Beis Sorosum. And this Maimer was actually published uh, in the Kuntras Chanukah in Tofshin Nun. And this was for the Chanukah days. The publication date was Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Erev Chanukah Shnasei Tofshin Nun. This is based on a mimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe that he said 50 years before, uh, as the Rebbe will explain and review the mimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe. P'siyate d'shmaya, Shabbos Parshas Miketz, Shabbos Chanukah, h'tofshin memches. ואתה ברחמיך הרבים עמדת להם באיש צרתם, chulu, you in your great compassion, you stood by them in the time of their trouble, etc. Masarto geboidim, this is from the Nusach and the Al-Hanisim that we say in the davening, in the benching, Masarto geboidim b'yad chaloshim v'rabim ma'yad ma'atim chulu, you have given over the mighty in the hands of the weak and the many in the hands of the few, etc. This is from the davening there. Umeda yekveit kedushas meirucham ma'admur b'mamore dibra maschil zeh. So my father-in-law, the Rebbe, asks, is medayik in the Maimon that opens up with this Vata Barachamicha shenemar lifnei chamishim shana. He said it 50 years ago. That was in the year Tafresh Tzadik Ches, and that was 50 years before. That opens up with the same Vata Barachamicha Rabim. So he asked the question over there, Hare Iker Hanez de Chanukah hu Hanez de Netzochen Hamilchomo Shehoya b'Chavdalet b'Kislev. The main miracle of Chanukah was the fact that there was a miracle that they were victorious in the war, that the Chashmonoim won the war against the Greek. And that winning of the war, Shehoya b'Chavdalet b'Kislev. The victory took place on the 24th of Kislev. And it was not only was that the main, if we try to compare that to the miracle that they found some oil to light the menorah, the main miracle was the victory of the war. But not only was that the only reason that they could go and later on light the menorah was because they won the war. Bad. And that was the reason for the miracle of the jug of oil. That took place on the 25th day of Kislev when they had to light the menorah. That was the next day, so that they had the oil to light the menorah on the 25th day of Kislev, but it all came about through the miracle on the 24th day of Kislev. K'de'isa b'Gemara, like we find in the Gemara, the Gavru Beis Chashmonoim v'Notzchum, and then Lemotzu Pachech Shel Shemen. So it has to do, as the Gemara says, quoting here, Ukshe Gavru Beis Chashmonoim v'Notzchum. After the house of the Chashmonoim were overpowered and were victorious, Ozdavke, then specifically we're saying Motzu Pachech Shel Shemen, that they found this one jug of oil, Nase by Nes, it was a miracle, Vidliku Mimenu Shmeina Yomim, and they lit 8 days. So that came after the Nitzachan of the Milchama. So the Rebbe asked, the Frierdiker Rebbe asks in the Maimer, V'lo mokovu hascholos yimei Chanukah b'chafei b'Kislev. Why did they set the beginning of the days of Chanukah on the 25th day of Kislev when it started the Nes of the Pach Shemen, Shebo Yehoyo Nes Haneris, in which on the 25th was the miracle of the candles, V'loi b'chav Dalet b'Kislev. and not on the 24th day of Kislev, when there was the Nitzochen, the nace of the Nitzochen of the Mulchama, the victory of the war. So the Rebbe is going to bring out now a a difference between the question the Maimer asks over here and the question that is asked in other Maimorim. In other Maimorim, it seems to it says that the miracle of Hanukkah was set up for the nace of the menorah. That's why we do the lighting of the menorah. The whole my Hanukkah is lighting of the menorah. That's all has to do with the miracle of the finding of the oil of the natives being able to be lit in the Beis Hamikdash. It turns out that the whole miracle of Hanukkah celebrates basically the Ness, the miracle of finding the menorah. And those Maimorim ask the question, so why are we only celebrating the Ness of the menorah? Why aren't we celebrating also the victory of the Milchama? That's not the question over here. Over here, the Rebbe learns like the opinion that Hanukkah was also set up for the nace of the menorah, but not exclusively. It is for both. So therefore, he doesn't ask the question over here, why only the menorah, not the nace of Milchama, because it was set up for the nace of the Milchama. The only thing the question here he asked is the date. Why do we start it on the 25th versus starting it on the 24th? Because the victory of the Milchama was the 24th. So, in this Maimer, we're celebrating the victory of the Milchama also on the 25th, together with the Neiris Hanukkah, which celebrates the miracle of the Neiris, also the victory of the Milchama. But why didn't we start it on the 24th? That's what the Rebbe is going to explain now. We can say, this that the Maimer questions Hatam He's asked the question, what's the reason that they set up Hanukkah on the 25th of Kislev and not on the 24th of Kislev? How come the Maimer asked this question, and not like the question that we have in many other Maimorim? Also including Maimorim that start with this opening, Va'ata Brachamicha Harabim. So here, because in this piece we see that this is part of Chanukah, Brachamicha Harabim, and even in those Maimorim that they start with this opening, over there, he still asks the question: Madua kavu Chanukah laneis tepach Hashemen, beloy laneis the nitzochen hamulchama. They ask Bechlal, why was Chanukah set up? The whole Yom Tov Chanukah, the celebration of Chanukah for the miracle of the jug of oil, and not for the miracle of the victory of the war. So why is that not the question in this Maimer? In this Maimer, he's not asking that. In the other Maimorim, they ask, how come we didn't set it up for the victory of the war? Here he asks, why didn't we change the date to why do we start on the 25th? And the reason for that is the Rebbe explains who. In those Maimorim, it goes according to the view Shayomtev the Chanukah, that the Yomtev of Chanukah nikva rak al neis haneris, that it was said just for the miracle of the candles, and therefore the question is v'lochem medayik. That's why the question in the other Maimorim is shalachayda iker hu nitzochen hamilchama, that it would seem the main thing should be the victory of the war. V'lama asu mahatofel iker u'me'iker tofel. How come they made from the secondary, the miracle of the Neiris, which seems to be secondary, they made it the main. They celebrated the Yom Tov Iker, and the main thing of Nitzochen Tov make it secondary. We didn't even set up the Yom Tov Chanukah for that. Do Avanisim, do other things, but not the not the level of like it is by the Chanukah, like it's for the Nes Hashemen. But that's in the other Maimorim. That's why over there, that's the question. But in our Maimer, he goes, B'Maimer Zeh Koila Hashita, goes according to the view in this Maimer, Shekviyus Hayomtev Dechanoko, Higam Mitzad Anes de Nitzochen HaMulchama. Goes to the view that setting up the Yontav of Hanukkah is not just for the Neiris, but it's also for the miracle that we were able to win the war. Ve'ad, not only is the Hanukkah celebrated for also the victory of the war, but actually the main victory of the war is what we talk about in the Alanissim. We don't even mention the miracle of the Pach Hashemen. The thanks to the Alanissim, he be Iker, it's mainly on that nose. Al Nas the Pasach, the Pach Hashemen, and the thank you for the Pach Hashemen. That's through lighting the Chanukah, but what do we do? Hoido in Alanism, the prayer. It's mainly, it covers the Nitzochen HaMilchama, and that's the view that the Friedrich Rebbe goes by here, that Chanukah is celebrating the Nitzochen HaMilchama, and it's actually a main part of the Nitzochen HaMilchama. And so therefore, it's not a question, why didn't we set it up for Nitzochen Milchama? Because we did all set it up. And actually, the Alanism is mainly that. So therefore, what's the question in this Maimer? Huzeh is this Shemei Chanukah, that the days of Chanukah, Shenikvu Gamal Neis the Nitzochen HaMilchama, which were also set for the victory of the war. And on the contrary, this is not just also set up. This is seemingly the mainness. And to the extent, as explained in the Maimer, that this was also the reason to the miracle of the jug of oil. So Maschilim b'chofei b'kislev. So why does this whole miracle, which celebrates the Nitzochen HaMilchama, which was the cause for the Nes of the Pach Hashemen, and that started on the 24th, why should it start Maschilim b'chofei b'kislev sheboy hoyu Nes HaNedis, in which the miracle of the candles, the lamps were v'loi b'chof daled b'kislev, not on the 24th day of Kislev. So that's the question. The way the Rebbe explains what the Maimer has over here, not a question like in the other Maimorim. Why is it only set up to celebrate the Pach Hashemen and not the victory of the war? Because according to the opinion that the Friedrich Rebbe is here, was set up for the victory of the war, and actually that's the main thing of the Alanissim. But the question is, why do we wait till the 25th when we have the miracle of the Pach Hashemen? We should start on the 24th when the main aspect of the Nes, which is the cause for the Pach Hashemen, we should start it on the 24th. And then the Maimer asks another question. The question is that the real Nes of the Pach Hashemen didn't start really at the 25th. At the 25th, the Nes was that they can find Bechlal a jug. But the extra day that it burnt started really on the 26th. Why don't we find some sort of a commemoration for the 26th of day of Kislev, which was the really starting of the miracle? Base. The Maimer continues, in the miracle of the oil itself, there were two miracles. The miracle that they found one jug of pure oil that was sealed with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. This miracle of finding a jug of oil, that took place on the 25th day of Kislev. But the miracle that it only had enough to light for one day, and then it lasted for 8 days, when did the extra time that we gained from that little jug of oil That miracle, the Neza Huschal B'Chavav B'Kislev, that started on the 26th day of Kislev. So Medayik B'Hamaimer, so the Maimer questions, Mipnei Maloi Hukva Eza Toisvos Dover, how come there was not set up some additional matter, something B'Yem Chavav B'Kislev on the 26th day of Kislev, Shaboy Huschal Neis Haspokas Hashem and L'Shmoyne Yomim. That's when it started, this miracle, that there was sufficient oil for 8 days. It started on the 26th because the first day there was enough. That was the miracle to find the oil. But then later on, how come we don't find anything about the 26th day? So in the Maimer, he begins and he explains the various different levels of the miracle, where the miracle was based on, in what level, and the Rebbe will explain it is nes in Hishtalshalus and Lemaila mi Hishtalshalus, which has to do with the letters Chav Daled and Chav Hey, and the 24th and 25th, as we'll see inside. The point of the explanation, and this in the Maimer, the miracle of the victory of the war is the level of the lower level of Yichud, the union of Hashem, Hashem's expression in a way of Yehuda Tato to win. From there comes the Nitzochen of the Milchama. V'haneis, the Metzias Pach Shemen, the source of the miracle of the Pach Shemen Toyer, this pure jug of oil, Hu Yehuda Ilah, that's a miracle that comes from the level of the upper level of union. The manifestation of Hashem, either in Yehuda Tato, which brings about the miracle of the Pach Shemen, and the Tzacham Milchama, which is from Yehuda Tato, and then the manifestation of Yehuda Ilah brings about the miracle of the Pach Shemen Torah. B'zehu shehaneis the nitzochen hamilchama hoya b'chov dalet kislev. That's why the miracle of the victory of the war took place on the 24th, because 24 is Yehuda Tato, Evaneis the Metzias Pach Hashemen, and finding the jug of oil, Hoye B'Chofei B'Kislev, the number 25. 24 and 25 are the number of letters. In Shema Yisrael is 25 letters. In Baruch Shem Kved Malchusei Leilam Vod is 24 letters, and it's known that Shema Yisrael is Yehuda Ilah and Baruch Shem is Yehuda Tato. So the Chav Daled, Yehuda Tato, is on Chav Daled, which is in the Tzochan HaMilchama. Yehuda Ilah, Shema Yisrael, that's Yehuda Ilah, that's the Neis of Pach Hashemen. So he says, Kimispar Chav Daled Remes al Yehuda Tato. The number 24 hints on the level of Yehuda Tato, because that's Keneged. That corresponds to the Chof Daled Ha'oisies Shebe Baruch Shem Kved Malchusei Leilam Vod, the 24 letters in Baruch Shem Kved Malchusei Leilam Vod, which is Yehuda Tato, the level of Yehuda Tato. And then Mispar Chof Hey, the number 25, Reimes al Yehuda Ilah, that hints for the upper level of the Yehuda Ilah. Connected Chofei Oisius, that corresponds to the 25 letters of the Posuk in the verse Shema Yisrael Goyim Ravaya Echad. So we were covered with 24 and 25. The number 26 is the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, comes to 26. That's higher than both Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tato. V'haneis Da'aspokas Hashemen L'shmoyne Yomim, the miracle that there was enough oil for 8 days, Shehischel b'Chavav b'Kislev, that started on the 26th of Kislev. That's Chavav b'Gematria Havaya, that's 26, the numerical value of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei 26. Ulemailo gami yichudei law, that is higher also than the upper level of the yichudei law from which the miracle of the Shemin came, and then it lasted, comes from the level of Havaya, Yud Kevavke, which is higher than yichudei law. So, why are we saying that Yud Kevavke is higher also than the Shtein Yud Kevavke? But it seems that Yichudei Law should be in the name of Havaya, because the Elikim is usually Yichudei Tato. Havaya is Yichudei Law. That's what we say. Shema Yisrael Hashem, which is Yichudei Law, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, is Yichudei Tato. So Havaya itself is Yichudei Law. The Hagam, Shagam Yichudei Law b'Shem Havaya. That also Yichudei Law is in the name Havaya, and that's what we say Havaya Echad versus Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leilam Voed. So you say Hashem Echad, so you have also the level of Yichudei Law. Kimavur Bekama Mekoimis, as explained in many places, that Elikim is Yichudei Tato. Shabitl Shemitzad Shem Elikim, the subjugation which comes from the name Elikim, Ubitla Yesh. That's the subjugation. The difference between Yichudei Tato is Bitla Yesh, Yichudei Lo is Bitl B'Metzias, non-existent. So from Elikim is the Bitla Yesh. That's Yichudei Tato. But Shem Havaya is Yichudei Lo. Bittel, the Yichudei Law, Bittel b'Metzias, who davke mitzad Shem Havaya. That's specifically because Shem Havaya. Why are we saying over here that the level of Shem Havaya, the number 26, which is das cholas from the miracle of the 8 days that the Shemin lasted, comes from Havaya, but Yichudei Law is also Havaya. So the Rebbe explains, B'kol mokim, Zed iksiv bei, Havaya Echad, the fact that it says Hashem Echad, below Yochid, why do we say Echad, not Yochid? That itself tells us that there is an existence, the Ches and the Dalet, the Zayin, Rikim, Oretz, and the four corners, but they're bottled, the Aleph, there is a Mitzvah. So while we're saying Echad, it shows that it's Bitl Hayesh. But so the fact that we say Zedik Sibe Havaya Echad, below Yochid, which means Sheyeshnam Zayin Rikim Oretz, that there are 7 Rikim and Oretz. That's this Ches, represents the 7 Rikim and Oretz, and Vidala the Dalruch Soilum. Ella, but they are bottled. Sheim Betelim and Yuchodim. He made in soft. They are subjugated and they're united with the infinite light. Alufish Eloilam, the Aleph and Chazan Dalet. Who? So why is that not Yochid? Why is it Echad? Because that Havaya is the Havaya of Ishtalshalus. So yes, it's Havaya, but it's not beyond the Ishtalshalus, it's within Ishtalshalus. It's Havaya dilatata, the lower level of Havaya. Because the Zeu Masha Kosum, this is the meaning of the Pasuk. Havaya Likenu Havaya Echad. That Havaya Likenu is Havaya Echad, which means the Havaya Harisha, in the first Havaya, Havaya the Leila. That's the Havaya of above Shalamayla Ishtalshalus, which is higher than Ishtalshalus. Ube Havaya Zeh, and in that level of Havaya, Lo Shayich Lo Marshu Echad. Bezayin Rikim v'Oretz u'bedalad ruches olam. That level of Havaya, you can't say Echad in the first Havaya, that one Zayin Rikim v'Oretz and Dal ruches olam, because over there is Yochsharu Yochid v'Efes Ulase. Over there he's only, and there's nothing besides him. There's no Shemayim v'Oretz in that upper level of Havaya. The Havaya HaBeis, Havaya Delatato, and the second Havaya, Hashem Echad, is the lower level of Havaya, the Ishtalshalus. The Lochein Shayich by Loshen Echad. That's why over there applies the Loshen of Echad Aleph b'zayin kivoretz. Bittel hayesh. V'zuhi milas hanes da'aspokas Hashemen l'shmeina yamin. And this is the advantage and the greatness of the miracle of sufficient oil for 8 days. Shehischel b'chavav b'kislev, and we say that is chavav gematria havaya. So we're talking Shem Havaya. Over here we're talking about Shem Havaya Delela. Alanes. So you have the Shem Havaya more than the Neis, the Metzias, Pachshem and Tohir, more than the Pachshem and Tohir, because that is the level of Yichud Tato, Shem Havaya Del Tato. And here is Shem Havaya Del Elo. Shaneis, the Metzias, Pach Hashem and Shahoyo, B'chofei B'Kislev, the nurse of Metzias Pach Hashem that was on the 25th day of Kislev, which is Keneged Chofheya Ishish Shema Yisrael, which correspond to the 25 letters in Shema Yisrael Yichud Ilah, which is higher level. So the which is more than the level of Chavdaled, which we said Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem Kved Malchus is Chavdaled, is Yichud Tato. So what's the Chav Hei Oisius Shema Yisrael, which is Yichud Ilah? Hamshachosei Hu Mavaya Deletato. But it comes, that Havaya, it comes from the lower level of Havaya, Havaya Echad. But V'haneis Daspokas Pach Hashem L'Shmeni Yomim, which is on Chavov, sufficient of oil for 8 days, the Mispar Shmoina Moira Al B'china Shel Mailo Meishtalshlus. The number 8 points to something which is higher. 7 days is creation, 6 days is Shabbos. 7 days Shmoina is higher than creation Shtalshlus. That comes from the higher level of Aya, which is higher than Ishtalshlus. So the nace of the Mitzias Pach Hashemen is Taka Yehuda Ilah, but it's from Shem Havaya Deletato, and the nace of Haspokas Shmeina Yomim, which is higher than Ishtalshlus, comes from Havaya Delelo. And the Rebbe explains now in the Yeshloimer another point over here, even though that the level of Shema Yisrael is, we're saying, is Yichud Ilah, and Yichud Ilah usually is Zeh versus the level of Koi. And why is there 25 letters in Shema Yisrael, even though it's Yichud Ilah? But it's Yichud Ilah that has a connection to Yichud Tato. Let's see. Shloimar, the Zehu Gam, Shebishma Yisrael Yesh Chofei Atvun. This is also the idea that in Shema Yisrael there is 25 letters, which is Bechinas Koi. Even though Koi usually is Yichud Tato, after Yichud Ilah Bechlal Bechinas Zeh. Usually it's the level of Zeh. So, Ki Havaya Deletata, since this Yichud Ilah is connected, comes from Havaya Deletata, as the Rebbe brought out, Legabe Havaya Deleelo Nechshev K'moy Elikim. Relative to Havaya of above, that's considered like a Elikim, like a Tzimtzum. V'habitl the Yichud Ilah Shemitzad Havaya Deletata, that subjugation that comes from Yichud Ilah, which comes from the lower level of Havaya Deletata, Legabe Havaya Deleelo, if you measure it relative to the Havaya, the higher level of Shem Havaya, that's why it's like Yichud Koi. It's like a Koi. That's why it has 25, because it's really relative to the Yichud, relative to the Shem Havaya Deleelo. The Shem Havaya Deletata is considered Koi, only 25, only Yichud Tato. Similarly, is also the miracle of finding that jug of oil that took place on Chofei B'Kislev, Shu B'chinas Koi Legabe Havaya D'Leilo. That's Chofei, that relative to Havaya D'Leilo, which is the higher level of Havaya, that comes only on Chavav. That's not on Chofei. Mitis inyan b'chinas zeh, the true idea of the level of zeh v'yichudu iloah, hu b'aneis ta'aspokas Hashem and l'shmeina yomim. That's the miracle that it's lasted for 8 days. Shehischil b'chavov b'Kislev. That started on the 26th of Kislev. That's the level of higher than Koi, the level of Zeh. That comes from the Avayid Leila higher than Ishtalshlu. So the Rebbe explains over here the different letters that the Chav Talid is Yichud Tato. That's where the nace of the Tzachna Mulchama. Chav Hei is Yichud Ilah, and Chavav is the Shem Avaya higher. The Rebbe explains that Yichud Ilah from the Chav Hei comes from the Havaya de Latata, and therefore it's not the real bittul. This can be Havaya Chod and not Yochid. The real Havaya de Leilo, this does no Metzias at all. And that's why the Rebbe explains also it's Chofhei, even though Chofhei is Yichud Tato, and here the letters of Shema Yisrael, which is Yichud Ilah, because it's not relative to Havaya de Leilo. The Havaya de Latata of Shema Yisrael is Chofhei, and that's where the nace of finding the Pach Hashem, but then later on for 8 days, which is Lamaila Mishtalslus, that was on Chavav.